But
Hey, Harry,
Biden
do you
beat Donald
think
Trump.
do you think that
One
Joe
second, I'm not
Biden
done
is
yet. I let you speak.
cognitively able to be president? Yes or no?
Yes, I do. You can check out the neurology report he had earlier this year in February, where there said there was no concern, no cognitive disorder. That's coming from an actual doctor, actual neurologist.
We're all
as
making
opposed
this
to,
up.
A
Everything we
commentator.
see every day, the inability to say one complete sentence. We're all making it up.
Ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering. America, welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to This Week in DUMBmocracy, where we showcase some of the dumbest news makers of the week. If you've been following the channel for any length of time, you may have heard me use the phrase, useful idiots. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, believe it or not, Merriam-Webster has a definition for the term. It means a naive or credulous person who can be manipulated or exploited to advance a cause or political agenda. I think we've seen many examples of this on the channel. The people who root for the laundry, as it were. The phrase actually has its roots as well in the Russian Revolution under Lenin. He would refer to his blind followers as useful idiots in his own circles. Well, recently we've seen many a useful idiot supporting different political agendas as this political divide has widened. One of them you see on the screen right now. This is Harry Sisson. He is a darling of the political left. He's sort of like one of these paid talking heads that is like on TikTok and all the things that me as a really, really old person doesn't get involved with.
You're such a boomer.
But rest assured, he is the new poster child for the useful idiot. And that was on full display during an interview on Piers Morgan's show, which I'm going to show you. But before we get to that and all the hilarity that ensues there, I'm going to ask you guys, please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other shows. And if you like what you see in here in this or any other video on the channel, I'm going to ask you guys to, guess what? Smash that thumbs up button, like, comment, share the show with your friends, all that really, really good stuff that helps out the channel by feeding the YouTube algorithm.
It just needs to be fed.
So feed it.
Normally, this is the part of the introduction where I thank everybody for supporting the channel and inviting all you newbies to subscribe as well. But we got too many clips to go through, so let's start right now. So automatically, by looking at the panel, you see that Sisson is in way over his head here. This ain't TikTok, kid. He's dealing with seasoned political voices who know what they're talking about, like Piers Morgan, the host of the show, like Crystal Ball, who started out with The Hill and has this tremendous show on YouTube, Breaking Points. Highly recommend it. I don't always agree with her, but you know she puts in the work. She has reasoned opinions, and that's all you can really ask for. And then, of course, Dave Rubin, who's been on both sides of the aisle and has really informed opinions. So it already looks like one of these things is not like the other. But hey, let's see how the kid wearing the Biden shirt is going to be discussing what's going on with his candidate of choice right now.
Look, President Biden should be the nominee. I wonder where Dave got his MD, where he got his degree to specialize in neurology. And I just find it funny how he's saying, oh, we shouldn't respect Biden and Karine Jean-Pierre, but I'm sure that he's voting for the convicted felon and the proven sexual abuser who defamed his victim.
Automatically, he goes on the attack as expected. It's a very pugnacious presentation here. He's clearly, doing all he can to spin and control the narrative for Joe Biden, and that means attacking Donald Trump. And in this case, the proxy for Trump, which he thinks is Dave Rubin. By the way, Rubin, not exactly the biggest Trump supporters, but listen, you work with what you got, right, Harry?
It's not the best start.
No. What I think the first note that I would give, there is a lack of genuine tone. This seems very rehearsed, very canned from Sisson. But listen, he's not seasoned.
I see what you did there.
He's a kid doing a man's job here. And as you'll see throughout this video, he is clearly reminded that nobody on this panel respects him.
And he gives his respect to him every single day. But
hey, Harry, do you think that Joe Biden is cognitively able to be president? Yes or no?
Yes, I do. You can check out the neurology report he had earlier this year in February, where there said there was no concern, no cognitive disorder. That's coming from an actual doctor, actual neurologist.
We're all making this up.
Everything
we see every day, the inability to say one complete sentence. We're all making it up.
I don't know. Watch his speeches. You should watch his speech he gave in Philly the other day at the church. It was fabulous. It was incredibly moving.
Well, okay. I tell you what. Okay, let's watch
slurring
him.
Off a teleprompter.
Hang on. Let's watch since Harry wants to see. Since Harry wants to see a clip from the church, let's take a look at what happened in the church.
Uh-oh. This is clearly a trap. Piers Morgan is saying, okay, Harry, you opened the door. Let's all walk through it together. And I'm sure that this is not going to help the kid who thinks that a neurological exam in February trumps, forgive the pun, what we all saw nationally in that debate and since then. Don't believe your eyes, says Harry. Believe the doctor who examined him in February. We'll get to that in a moment as well. But for now, let's see what Piers has in store for young Harry.
Let us stand together. Oh, at the cross, at the cross, where I first saw the light.
He has no idea what he's doing there, Harry. He doesn't know what day it is.
Oh my gosh.
It's actually really disturbing to watch Joe Biden in public these days. He doesn't know where he is or what he's doing. He's the president.
Oh my goodness, that was not good for the spin that young Harry's trying to do here. Again, kid, this ain't TikTok where you're cutting and editing up videos into 30 seconds because nobody has the attention span to actually look at things.
Kids with your loud music and your Dan Fogelberg, your Zima, hula hoops, and Pac-Man video games.
This isn't your audience, my friend. This is not how you start off in big league politics on a big league show like this. He's showing his inexperience. He fell for one of the classic blunders.
Never get involved in a land war in Asia.
No, not that one. To not open your mouth and open the door for someone to just walk all over your argument.
United States. We're now told he has to go to bed, early. He can't be up, working past 4 o'clock in the afternoon because he's too elderly and infirm. He's the president of the United States. He's the leader of the free world. This is a sick joke, literally, because the man is unfit mentally and physically to do the job. You know that, Harry. In your heart, you know that.
You played a clip of the man sitting there. Does either Crystal or Dave look like they're out of it? No, they're just sitting there, just looking at the camera, just like Joe Biden is just sitting there. He wasn't doing anything. You're trying to frame an innocent video and give a nefarious explanation for it. Come on, Piers, let's be honest about this. There was a neurology report in February where he was cleared by an actual doctor, an actual neurologist, and that's what we should be focusing on. Now,
okay, clearly the kid is media trained. I'll give him that. But again, his argument is, don't believe what you just saw, the mouth agape in the video, the expression that he didn't know exactly what to do. Should he stand up? Should he sit down? He's tapping his hand. Yeah, sure. Don't believe that. Believe the White House neurologist. And Crystal is going to obliterate this talking point very soon.
These like weird selective clips that conservatives, not saying you, Piers, but conservatives push on social media.
All right, let me bring in.
That's just complete nonsense. That's utter nonsense. It's
Dave,
weird to be so young and so sold out for the system. I got to tell you, it's really bizarre. Everyone knows that the man cannot say one complete sentence off the top of his head without slurring. The teleprompter reading is horrible. And even in the Joe Scarborough and Stephanopoulos interviews post-debate, they were both probably worse than the debate. So the people trying to help him right now are actually making it worse by letting him speak.
Shut up, Wesley.
And Piers, you make a great point. Some of the first people to really sound the alarm in recent days were G7 leaders who were shocked by his decline. Now, Dave is right that some of us on the left and some on the right have been talking about this manifest decline over a number of years. But if you compare him just to 2020, it's quite astonishing. So, one thing I would say is, very well what Harry and other defenders would be saying if the shoe was on the other foot.
Absolutely correct. See, this is why I like Crystal, even though we don't agree on a lot of topics, especially when it comes to Israel. She's intellectually honest, which is another point that Harry should maybe take up in his future in politics. Be intellectually honest. Don't be in the bag for the laundry. Whatever partisan clothing you're wearing, and he's literally wearing partisan clothing in this interview, try to be an intellectually honest broker in discussing things. Don't try to defend the indefensible. We just saw Joe Biden with that vacant stare. We remember it from the debate. We've been talking about it for nearly 2 weeks now. Yet you're sticking your head in the sand, ignoring reality, claiming that, oh, everything's okay. A doctor checked him out back in February. What do you guys have to worry about? He's fine.
If you had Trump displaying clear signs of Parkinson's, which I'm not an expert, I'm not diagnosing him, but multiple doctors have come out and said these are classic symptoms of Parkinson's. You learned that a Parkinson's expert had visited the White House 8 times in 8 months, and the White House completely stonewalled when asked why that expert was there. One other thing to add to your thesis that this is all becoming quite Trumpian is the fact that his physician, who Harry's, hanging his hat on, giving him the clean bill of health, et cetera, he's a personal family friend and business associate of the president's brother. There's a very Ronnie Jackson political croning kind of a situation too with this personal physician. You should not trust a word that comes out of this White House at this point, just as you should never have trusted a word that came out of the Trump White House last time around.
Shut up, Wesley.
Do you not think that? I mean, when you watch him, do you feel remotely reassured that he's completely in charge here?
Now, Pierce is actually doing something good for Harry. He's offering him a lifeline after Crystal just shot after shot after shot just obliterated his argument about that neurologist back in February who turns out to be a Biden family friend and a crony, apparently. And Dave Rubin talking about how he's so detached from reality with his reasoned argument as well. Pierce has actually given the kid a shot here to maybe think about what he's saying. Will he take him up on that offer? Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is all just hyperbole. Like, this is nonsense. I don't know why we're talking about Biden's mental state when we can just look at his record.
All right, so I'll give him... I can't believe this. I'll give him points for trying to deflect and move on, because that's what a trained flack would do. But Harry, the words hyperbole. If you're going to go on these shows and you want to use big boy words, try to learn the big boy words before you attempt to use them. Later on in the program, and by the way, I'm including the entire uncut video from Piers Morgan in the description below. There's a link there for it. You'll see it towards the bottom. Click on it if you want to watch the entire show. I highly recommend doing it. But I'm moving on to a segment where there was a discussion about Dr. Jill Biden and whether she is enabling her husband to his detriment. In other words, if she is not providing a good service to her husband by allowing him to be paraded out onto these stages all the time to show how his feeble mind and feeble body are at the time. So this is a clip of Dr. Jill Biden leaving and getting a little huffy with some reporters who are demanding some answers from her concerning her husband's condition and whether or not he's going to be continuing in this campaign.
Dr. Biden, do you have any message to House Democrats who are calling for your husband to drop out of the race? How are you feeling about the state of the race?
All right, ladies.
Why is she screaming? You know me. Don't scream at me.
This is the same sanctimony that we saw in yesterday's video from Karine Jean-Pierre. Why are you screaming at me? Stop disrespecting me. And then proceeding to not answer any question posed to them. Joe Biden's doing the exact same thing. It's almost as if the message got out to Team Biden to try to avoid direct questions when possible.
It was just a coincidence. Coincidence, my eye.
Harry Sisson is going to try to spin this in a good way, I guess. What do you think he's going to do here? Let's make this the topic of the day. What do you think he's going to do to try to spin and worm an agenda gymnastics routine out of this one? Let me know in the comments.
I just find it interesting, the conversation we're having surrounding that clip. Like Jill Biden just like, yeah, just don't scream at me. I'll answer your question, no problem. And nobody,
but she didn't answer the question. She didn't answer them.
I mean, just generally, I mean, she just said,
she didn't make
she just said, just don't scream at me.
No, she was using that as a way to get in the car. Yeah, but you know,
I think that the reason what I was going to say is it's interesting that we're having this conversation about this clip when, like, during Trump's presidency, he revoked Jim Acosta's press pass because he didn't.
He went with but Trump. He went with the whataboutism. This is commonly seen as a bad response to a direct question. Nobody likes to talk about whataboutisms because you're not answering directly what was posed to you. You're deflecting to talk about the other side of the aisle. Notice he didn't want to talk about what would have happened if this was Donald Trump who was in this position concerning the cognitive decline that he's going through, or that I should say Biden is going through. Had a little bit of a moment there myself, didn't I? But so he didn't want to talk about Trump then and say, what if the tables were turned and it was Trump who was the one that was in cognitive decline based upon his mannerisms. But now he wants to talk about Trump all the live long day to avoid this direct question.
Like the questions, and he called the media the enemy of the people. I mean, Jill Biden's just like, don't scream at me, and we're analyzing this.
The enemy of the people.
How about we well, of course you'd say that, Dave. You're praying to the cult leader. You're too far gone.
And now he's being dismissive of another guest, being really disrespectful to Dave Rubin right now. But don't worry, Dave's got this, I'm sure.
I think we should be talking about Donald Trump's attacks
I didn't
to the
even
media,
support the
calling
guy
him the
in the
enemy
primary.
of people. It doesn't matter. You're supporting him now.
The media is the enemy
so
of the people.
You're too far gone, Dave.
The mainstream
you're too
media,
far gone, Dave.
The mainstream media are the very people who got us into this mess in the first place. If they would have been honest with us for the last 4 years about his mental decline, he probably wouldn't have been the nominee 4 years ago, and certainly wouldn't be this time. But they ran cover for him, and the only reason we're in this situation, and you, unfortunately, are having to run cover for a guy that simply does not care about you or the country and doesn't know what he cares about, is because they lied to us the entire time. If they had done their job, if they had done what I think I was trying to do, what Piers was trying to do, what Tyrus was trying to do, and many other people online, just calling balls and strikes, there's something wrong with the guy, we have all known it, then we would not be in this situation. But we are in a perilous situation as a country right now because the media didn't hold him to account, and she's pissed about
Dave,
that.
And by the way, that's how you handle a schnook like Sisson. He wanted to say, oh, you're in the cult because you think the media is the enemy of the people. Well, Rubin explained how the media can be seen as the enemy of the people here in this situation involving Joe Biden's cognitive decline that has been covered for and enabled by the media for years. Look, it's clear to me that Sisson is a BS buffoon that I discuss in my book, Schnooks, Crooks, Lies, and Scoundrels, a field guide to identifying political buffoons, available right now on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores. The BS buffoon is the buffoon that thinks that they know everything and they're so confident in their abilities, but in the end they are so far over their head that they have an arrogance to them that is so not deserved based upon their skills and ability. Look, I'll give the kid credit. He's trying to swim in the deep end in this segment. He's dealing with a lot of experienced and seasoned voices in politics and in media. But Harry, my friend, dude, what the hell? You're clearly outclassed, outgunned, and outmatched here. You're punching above your weight class, especially because we're considering Tyrus right now. Sorry, Tyrus, big man to big man, I had to do that. But it's clear and apparent that you have your talking points that you're sticking to like crazy. You don't have the ability to improvise and compromise and discuss things and capitulate to things where you should and defend things where you should, that a seasoned presenter would be able to do. You're holding fast to these talking points to your own detriment, much like Joe Biden is doing, except we see that you have some cognitive ability to think for yourself. You're just choosing not to.
Because now
I'm sure you're an honest questions. And Dave, I'm sure you're an honest journalist who covered President Biden's neurological exam in February, right? You
again, sticking to this neurological exam that Crystal debunked earlier as being done by a Biden crony, and now trying to set up a straw man argument saying, oh, well, Dave Rubin, you're a journalist. You should have covered this, right? You did cover this, right? And again, Dave Rubin is going to show the kid how to respond to very simple gotcha attempts that he's trying to do here. Harry Sisson's attempt at a gotcha right here is elementary level, and Dave Rubin has got his doctorate compared to Sisson.
Read the report where it found that there was nothing wrong with him. You were honest about that, right? There was no running cover for your guy, Donald Trump.
I don't consider myself a journalist. I give people
whatever
my
you
opinion,
call yourself,
but I don't
leader,
think anyone
maybe.
at CNN or New York Times or Washington Post is a journalist either. But sometimes, Harry, and again,
it's
you might
irrelevant.
learn this with age, sometimes the system kind of lies. And sometimes the system runs cover for people in power. And it will all leak one day. It will all break.
Dave, did you or did you not cover President Biden's neurological exam? Did you or did you not cover that on your platforms?
You know what I find quite touching, Harry, is that Harry, you seem to be the last person left in America who's actually believing what the White House is saying about all this.
And Pierce again throwing a lifeline to the kid, understanding that, you know what, with youth comes naivete. He is swallowing literally everything from the Biden White House.
Giggity.
No questions asked, no critical thinking skills, no ability to observe and to come to his own conclusions based upon his own observations. He is towing the party line. This makes him also the agenda gymnast that we talk about in the book, but also he just votes for the laundry. He has no independent thought other than what has been given to him to say in order for him to get money for it.
Well, what is crystal clear is that they've been misleading the American people and the American media for a very long time. Why are you believing them?
Pierce, spare me that Joe Biden is running cover and we're lying to the American people. This is a transparent administration. And again, I just find it funny that we're talking about transparency issues with Biden when...
Do you see the disrespect from the panelists as well? Crystal Ball just breaking out in laughter then. Tyrus did the same thing earlier. No one's taking this kid seriously, and neither should you, because you're a discerning political observer because you found this channel. You have eyes, you see, you have ears, you can listen, you understand and can process information. You're not like this kid just falling over on command for the people in power. Apparently, that's what he's getting paid to do here. And man, this is just embarrassing for him because I'm sure 10, 15, 20 years, he's going to look back on this and think of it as probably a wonderful experience. But man, Harry, you weren't ready for this. You didn't want this smoke.
And Donald Trump is the biggest liar known to man.
But
He is
Harry,
one of the worst people in American politics.
Look at him. They're all laughing at him.
When it comes to dishonesty,
Donald Trump is not the current,
averaging around 20
Harry, here's the difference.
It's remarkable.
Here's the difference. Donald Trump is not the current president of the United States. He's not the commander-in-chief.
But he could be.
Yeah, but he's not.
But also, Harry,
he's not. Your guy is. Let me ask.
I agree with you.
Let me ask Tyrus.
I agree with you. Donald Trump sucks.
You
should want to defeat him. You're backing the weakest candidate possible.
And I do, and that's why I'm voting. And that's why I want the guy who's the incumbent to stay in. 7 out of the 10 last incumbents have won re-election.
Okay.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Oh, God. 7 out of the last 10 incumbents win. Wow. Harry, thanks for pointing out that incumbents win re-election. Sort of what they do. It's part of the power imbalance in politics. Incumbents, they have an advantage. But thanks for pointing out that useless statistic right there. Oh, boy. Is there any hope for this kid? We'll see when we come back from the break. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show.
Harry, this idea that Joe Biden can't be replaced, of course he can. Not least when so many Democrat and liberal skewing media, including the New York Times twice now, demanding he step aside. He's lost his own room. You know, 3/4 of Democrat voters think he's too old to run again. The room has gone, his own room. Forget what Republicans think. Forget what people like me think who are not even American citizens. None of that matters. He's lost his own side. They're gone. You're the last one standing. It's you, Harry Sisson. That's it.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. There are tens of millions of Americans out there who voted for Joe Biden in the primary. They voted for him to be the guy, and he's going to be the guy. He has a terrific record to run on. And again, we don't have to have this nonsense conversation about, the Jill Biden's running the country and diving into conspiracies. Let's just look at the record, ladies and gents. Let's focus on what they're getting done for the country, what Joe Biden would do versus what Donald Trump would do.
And if it's so good, Harry, if his record is so good, why is his approval rating at an all-time low?
Thank you. That is the best question Pierce has asked today. He's tired of giving out lifelines now to the kid.
Sink or swim.
You think that he's so great? He has such a great record? Well, then why does everybody think that he's unelectable? Why is his approval rating in the shitter? Come on, Mr. Political Genius here, Mr. Wonderkin. Give us the answer to that one.
And why is it that no American president, incumbent president, with this approval rating of 37%, whatever it is now, has never, ever won again or been re-elected with that approval rating in election year? How do you explain it if he's such a great president who's done such a great job?
Well, we're in uncharted territory right now with unique partisanship in the country. So the approval rating being low doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's not going to vote for an individual.
What? Boy, I'd like to know what research he's done on that when increase in partisanship occurs, that unelectable people get elected. Yeah, that sounds like some sound logic there, kiddo.
Nobody has ever been re-elected with that approval rating.
And we've never had this much divide in the country, at least in modern American politics. So in terms of why the approval rating is low,
look, we've had this kind of divide under President Trump. The media was very fair then at that point.
Yeah, no, I think the divide is worse now because we have Donald Trump running around saying that the FBI is corrupt, the DOJ is corrupt, his prosecution was corrupt, the women lie about him and all this stuff. So yeah, I think we have more divide when your cult leader is just lying constantly. But why is the approval rating low? Look, we've had a rough couple of years due to the COVID pandemic. Inflation has been high because of it.
Yeah, about that high inflation there, kiddo. What was inflation when Donald Trump left office? Oh yeah, it was under 2%. What did inflation jump up to under the Biden administration? Oh yeah, over 9%. It hasn't come down to the levels that Joe Biden inherited. In fact, this is one of the lies that he constantly talks about on the campaign trail. And we did a video on that previously. I'm going to put that in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Kid, you got to get off the talking points and actually think. This is why you're out of your depth. You're not able to think on your feet when you're given the big boy questions from big boy analysts. You shouldn't be on this show. You shouldn't be out there speaking politics until you put in the work, instead of being handed talking points by your employer, who then hands you a fat paycheck because you get all the clicks and all the interaction on social media. You're leading people astray. Do you realize that, Harry? You're not putting in the work and giving cogent arguments here. You're just towing a company line, and it's quite buffoonish when you do that.
It's happening around the world. Gas prices were high because of it. Grocery prices were high because of it. This is not a Joe Biden problem, but often Americans and people in countries around the world, just in Great Britain and Canada as well, will point the finger at the top dog, the leader, and that's just what's happening with Joe Biden.
It's not Biden's fault, everybody, that you're paying so much at the pump. He just happens to be the guy at the head of the government when you are paying so much. Do you believe that? Do you really believe that? Come on. That's an asinine argument. Joe Biden gets all the credit for his accomplishments, but he takes none of the blame for when things go bad. At least that's how things work in Harry's world.
Even though he bears no responsibility. So that's why.
Oh my God.
But once we get, hold on now. Once we get out there and start talking about the policy, talk with Joe Biden, that is when people's minds are going to change.
Here's the thing. He can't talk about the policy. He can't talk about the policy. He's losing.
Crystal, did you not understand him when he was on the debate stage talking about 1 million people signing up for the PAC tax?
No, I didn't. I didn't understand much of what he said on the debate stage. Neither did anyone else in America, okay?
And at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. It's a losing argument to back Joe Biden at this point. This is literally the last Biden supporter out there. This is the few and the proud that are still out there banging the drum for Joe Biden. It doesn't come off as genuine. It doesn't come off as believable. And the biggest problem is you all have eyes and ears out there and can make decisions for yourself. You're not going to be spoon-fed this nonsense, this bullshit from Harry Sisson. And that's the point of everything about this channel. It's the point of everything about this book. Look for yourself. Listen for yourself. Come to your own conclusions. Don't believe the useful idiots out there like this particular buffoon and all the others that you see in media. But this one especially, because my God, is he just in over his head or what? But listen, that's just my opinion on all of this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And as always, like and share the video with your friends. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other shows. Let's let's all point and laugh at this buffoon and all the other shenanigans and buffoonery going on this week in DUMBmocracy.
All views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily of the mainstream media and may offend some listeners. It's called political buffoonery.